U.S. plans to deploy B-52 bombers to Australia's north. This is breaking, and of course there is a ton of other things going on right now, but to get right into the action, out of Sydney, the United States is planning to deploy up to 6 nuclear-capable B-52 bombers to an air base in northern Australia. A source familiar with the matter said on Monday, amid heightened tensions with Beijing. So they're saying the official reason is because of China. It says dedicated facilities for the bombers will be set up at the Australian Air Force's remote Tyndall base, about 300 kilometers or 190 miles south of Darwin, and the capital of Australia's Northern Territory, said that the source, who declined to be identified because they are not authorized to speak publicly on the issue. It says the development was first reported by the Australian Broadcasting Corps, ABC's Four Corners program, citing U.S. documents. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that Australia engages with the United States on defense alliances from time to time. Well, putting 6 nuclear bombers there is a big deal, and we'll talk about that and much, much more on today's show. This is Marfoogle News. We're going to be back with, of course, all of your current events and even more. Stick around. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween.
All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. So today we have a lot to go over and, of course, a short amount of time. We are on earlier today. We are trying out earlier shows on Mondays, actually, but today is a little bit of a different story. I have to take my kids to a costume party tonight, so I'm going to be getting all of this done earlier. So it'll be good for those of you that normally don't make a live because we're on too late. But again, it's going to be great. For some that are at work right now, that probably won't be great. But again, I hope you guys watch the replay. So we have a ton to go over. And if you've never been here before, make sure to sign up for our email alerts. And also you can get notifications directly from us. Go over to marfooglenews.com. Over there, you will also see that we do a full bibliography for every single episode. Somebody commented and said, change your titles, they're misleading. So our titles always have absolutely everything to do with the show. It's, I guess that some people just don't have 2 hours to wait until we get to the point of that title. But we are actually very, very, we always make sure that our titles absolutely matter. Today, urgent movements is absolutely correct. And there are urgent movements going on right now. You can go find today's episode right over on the website. It is all done by thumbnails. You can go over to here, sending B-52s down under, and then urgent movements. Once you click on that, you'll see that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is here. That way we have a source for every single story that we tell you. Again, our opinions, we'll make sure to clarify so if it is an opinion rather than a fact. And we make sure to do that every single time. Dex, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So happy Halloween for those that celebrate it, for those who actually are doing something. Again, it's not everybody's holiday, obviously. Not everybody celebrates it. Not everybody does it. Mostly people with kids have to definitely do stuff around this time of the year. But thank you, everybody, for coming to this early show. And then let's see here. So we have North Korea demands the U.S. South Korea halt joint military drills. We've talked about previous drills that have happened. Of course, Kim always gives a lot of crap to everybody once we do this South Korea and U.S. drill. Every year they've done so, and back in 2017 when they were launching a ton of missiles, back when T-Man was our president, they essentially had a really big problem. Now, Dex, with this, they're saying to halt the drills, obviously with all of the other stuff that we've covered, which if you don't follow the show, you would not know that they have changed their laws there. So if they even smell somewhat of an attempt to take Kim out or to take any of his leading officials out, then they will launch a nuke automatically, or that's at least what they've said and told us, right? When these drills go on, there's definitely room for accidents. Dex, what do you think about them saying to halt their drills?
Well, I think that they're trying to throw back the big words. We've thrown out the word saying if you continue your nuclear tests, then we're going to do harm, significantly unparalleled actions towards you. And now he's saying, well, if you're going to do your drills around me, then I'm going to do my tests. So he's basically throwing it back. This is a back and forth of words. And it's really what I said. What does it come down to? Who's going to actually hold their line?
Yeah, so with by the way, going back to the first story as far as Australia and them shipping bombers, you of course have Europe. I did a video yesterday just explaining how close this current kind of era is to World War II and before World War II happened. There's actually a lot of books, and in history they write that World War II was the war that everyone knew that was going to happen. And it's kind of crazy because it was the same thing. Everybody was reading the headlines for months and months and months and months and months and even years, and basically seeing this huge conflict going on across the planet. And here in the U.S., not a lot of people approved of it. Once Pearl Harbor happened, it was like, boom, instant approval. Everybody was like, let's go to war. Right now, with the worst recruitment levels, in almost all of the branches, and none of them are hitting their numbers, there's going to have to be an event like that for people to just switch and support it. If you remember after 2001 in September, when that event happened, which everyone has questions about, after that happened for a short amount of time, and I don't know, it felt like a year or at least maybe a year and a half, 2 years, everyone was unified. You could not believe how many American flags were all over cars. You could see people, with 10-foot flags off of their, Toyota Prius and stuff just rolling down the highway. It was a time when everybody was pumped and they were ready to go to war against another country. That, of course, ended up being a complete kerfuffle. But now it's the same thing, and people are saying, why are we sending all of this money somewhere else? Why aren't we keeping this money? Why aren't we spending this money here? Why are we sending it to a conflict we don't even need to be in? Slowly, it's been changing, and there's been a lot of information going out on the internet, making us, of course, empathetic not only to UKR, but supporting the cause. And now some people are even saying that we need to get involved and just take Vlad out. There's been a lot of messaging saying that Vlad is the new Adolf. They're comparing him directly to Germany back in the day. So there's a lot. And then as more documents come out, just like as in WW2, when they released all of the information of the people that were, of course, being taken by force into places and unalived, there's been once that happened, of course, approval went up. We're seeing the same kind of thing, obviously not to that same extreme, but we see that same thing. As far as moving bombers to Australia, obviously Australia is one of the countries that we've worked heavily with. In fact, Australia recently just bought nuclear submarines from us rather than France. That actually caused a rift between us and France because France had a contract with Australia. I think it was for, Dex, what was it? It was like 16 years out that they were going to get nuclear subs. And then we ended up saying we can get them to you in 2, and they took that, right?
Yeah, something along those lines. It was a significant time saver for them, and it definitely snubbed France.
Well, and when that happened, we were asking, why do they need it now? Why can't they wait 16 years? Well, obviously, most of you guys know something is going on way before 16 years from now, so they needed it now. And the urgency and being, having them kind of screw over France like that, it is a big deal. So it wasn't, I'm sure they didn't think lightly on it. As far as shipping bombers there, now we have bombers all over the world and in places that, obviously people are sending in sightings of B-52 bombers over Europe in all sorts of different places. In fact, the last one of those callers sent it in from, Wiltshire or Wiltshire, 4 B-52s flying over them, and that was before the official news broke that we were moving those all over the place. So there's a lot of urgent movements. The 101st Airborne Division, of course, deployed to Poland, not the entire division yet, but now military members in this group are saying that there are a ton of actual deployments going on, and none of them are publicly being disclosed. So there are some that they could fit in extras on, like the NATO deployments that they've done, like the NATO deployment of 9,000 aboard one of our most high-tech carriers that deployed, and then many supply ships are leaving. Those supply ships can supply, 30 days of a battalion, and a lot of those are leaving. So something is definitely going on. That's my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. But it says North Korea on Monday demanded that the United States and South Korea stop large-scale military exercise, calling them a provocation that may draw more powerful follow-up measures. So it's nothing new. We've seen this many times before. I guess some people look at this as, when is the straw finally going to snap? When is the last board going to break? And then mystery stealthy drone emerges ahead of China's Big Arms Expo. It says what appears to be a new and stealthy-looking Chinese drone has emerged from Zhuhai International Airport ahead of the biennial air show and trade expo set to formally open there next week. There are indications that the drone may be an actual prototype rather than just a mock-up. There's actually already speculation that this could be the first look at a new unmanned combat air vehicle, or a UCAV, designed to work closely with the J-20 stealth fighters, among other types. Dax, we actually talked about this before when they were talking about the lead ace would have basically a wingman that was unmanned. That's what they're talking about, right? This would be a drone that... Absolutely.
Absolutely. If you want to grab the picture at a screener, let me talk a little bit about this. So one of the things, we have shown some of these pictures before, but it's always been like a silhouette. It's been undercover. We're not sure. Actually, they're not sure if this is what they've been seeing undercover. But now they know that this is going to be rolled out potentially at this air show. Obviously, if it's on the field, there's an air show coming up at this field where they're going to show off their military power. So there's a reason for it to be there. And this picture that sort of snuck out early sort of gives a little bit of a glimpse. And there's a couple of videos. If you want to go read it in the article, you'll see the rest of it. This picture sort of gives you the front end look, but it definitely looks like that unmanned type vehicle, but it's a single wing type approach, a stealth looking, aircraft. So kind of a, big step for them if they have the ability to have wingmen drones flying with their fighter pilots. That's kind of a big deal.
So other military members, back when we talked about this, said that this was slated for 2025. Another thing that we, saw that was, originally slated for years ahead has now been moved up and now being actually released to the public. So is there some sort of hurry that is making them get these things moved up? I've shown you actual documents that have shown you how many different of these deadlines got moved from 2027, 2031, 2028, 2029, and they've all been moved up to basically now, or they're already finished. In fact, some of them finished last year. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has all these weird things that they're also prepping for, and I showed you the documents showing that they were asking small businesses and small manufacturers to basically come up with an idea, produce, and manufacture all by a certain deadline, and that was like December 21st of I believe last year. So they were like, hey, we need it in a few months time. We need you to do all of this and have it made and ready to go. So there's a lot of weird things going on behind the scenes. I don't think it's that weird, though. I think it's common sense. I think that we are in WW3, and people say that that's fear-mongering. Like Nouriel Roubini said, people call him Dr. Doom. He's one of the most world and well-known economists, and he says, I would rather be called Dr. Realist, as far as there's a lot of real things that you really can't debate that are actual possibilities. He did like the 10 mega threats, a book that basically talks about the 10 mega threats, and people think that those are all, doom scenarios, but nobody would argue with him that those are all real possibilities. So it's how you look at things, and you can be an optimist about things, but you also have to be realistic. You also have to look at what is going on right now. If you watch a show, you know how much of a big picture we're showing you. We're showing you every country in the world is preparing for this. At this point, I don't understand how people are not catching on that this isn't going to go backwards and then we're going to go back to normal. Something happened with CV. That's just my thought. Something happened big there. And that was the first step into our new world. Like our world is changing. And people won't listen until it's already changed. They're doing things incrementally. They're changing things around us. They're changing the way we live our lives. They're changing the prices. They're changing how we work. They're changing hours of everything. I mean, like, they're even changing how we do our day-to-day stuff. Very soon you will walk into a store, grab your items, and just walk out the door. These all might seem like conveniences, but really it's something different is happening. They're getting ready for an entirely new system, a system that does not involve cash, and a system that does not involve the petrodollar. So something big is on the horizon. And then China launches third and final space station component. This is also something that all of a sudden, I mean, I thought this was going to be way far out. This is already being launched. It says that China on Monday launched the third and final module to complete its permanent space station and realize more than a decade-long effort to maintain a constant crewed presence in orbit as its competition with the U.S. grows increasingly fierce. It says Mengxian was blasted into space on Monday afternoon from the Wenchang Satellite Launch Center on the southern island province of Henan. It says a large crowd of amateur photographers, space enthusiasts, and others watched the liftoff from an adjoining beach. Many waved Chinese flags and wore T-shirts emblazoned with the characters for Xi's country, reflecting the deep national pride invested in the space program and the technological progress it represents. It says the space program is a symbol of a major country and a boost to the modernization of China's national defense. So, Dex, did you notice the wording they used there? It's not just for the modernization, or it's not just for a symbol. It's actually for defense. This is some sort of military piece that they're putting up there. As far as their space station isn't going to be used for peace, this is going to be used for defense.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. Just about everything they do is owned by the government, and it's part of the government, and it can be used for the military. If you build a ferry, you have to be able to take an island with it and put military gear on it. So no surprise that they look at their space station and their investment in space as militarized. They will probably continue to do research just like everyone else, but I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to spend significant amount of their money, time, and effort in space on a military point of view.
Well, so if and by the way, we're in 2022. If you remember how we kind of started covering this, and it says a decades-long effort. So they've been trying to do this, but if you remember, they just kind of let the public know, more recently that they were gonna try to cut out of the U.S. space stations kind of thing, the International Space Station. And then they said that they were going to get their own up there. They're already launching and about to finish their own space station. This is super fast. I mean, did you guys think that by the end of 2022 that they would have this thing up there and possibly finished in a matter of I don't know how long it's going to take them to actually put it on, but at the rate that they've finished the first two parts, that's absolutely scary. They've made this thing so when it goes up there, all they have to do is essentially clamp it down in a bunch of parts. In fact, a lot of it does it by itself. These pieces will end up having robotic arms that pull it together and clip it together. So this is freaky. This thing is a weapon, and they're basically launching that last part right now. At the same time, we are preparing, and our militaries are all doing these drills, massive drills around the globe. I don't know what to say. People should have a backup plan at least. All right. And before we talk about China slams reported plan for U.S. B-52 bombers in Australia, I do want to remind you, if you do have the need for any kind of generator, I would highly recommend a solar one because you will not need to store gas, and they are absolutely silent. These cannot be heard from 3 blocks away, and there's very little maintenance. There's no running engines to go wrong. Again, these things are built to last. This is Energy. This is one of the best brands out there. In fact, it is so coveted right now, there is still a waiting list. That piled on top of that, lithium is actually in high demand and in low supply. This is a really awesome system because it works like Legos. The input and the output on the batteries and on the system are on the bottom and the top, so they can actually stack, and you can actually expand this up to 96 batteries. You can do stacks of 5 batteries because of the weight, but again, you could actually take this with 5 batteries and walk away with it. That is what is really amazing about this system. It doesn't double its footprint with huge cords going off the sides, which again, space will matter if you are bugging out or bugging in. This is a great system as well because the batteries are very easy to use, just plug and play. And then the solar panels, just plug it in and all of a sudden you have power. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. It's one of the easiest and one of the best made out there. But again, there is a wait for it, so make sure to get in as soon as possible. Anybody that already has one will tell you that they're awesome. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Imagine being able to, when your power goes off, just to be able to turn it back on again. It's pretty awesome. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about China slams a reported plan for the U.S. B-52 bombers?
Well, of course they do. Think about this. We're putting them there for the sole purpose of being able to reach China faster. If we're there in Australia, it's just a quick hop straight up. We don't have to get all the way across the Pacific. We don't have to leave Minot and go all the way over and have all that airtime that could be spotted. So this is something, it's like we're parking up in their backyard. Now, we're not right in their backyard. Don't get me wrong. Australia is pretty far south, but it's still a lot closer. And it brings another position to which we can stage. And this is a big deal. It's a big deal for ourselves. It's a big deal for protecting Australia. It's also, just a big deal on our own defense side if we were to do any type of strike against someone like Xi. So I could totally see why he's upset. Of course, he's pushing back, saying that we shouldn't do this, and sort of obvious because we're doing it in his face.
Yeah, he's pissed off. He doesn't want them there. We see this with every new place that we put gear. One of the other major powers will have a problem with it. So these are the B-52s. And again, there was a video sent into our show not too long ago of 4 of these flying over Wiltshire in the UK. And it was like, if you see these in the US, it could be a drill, it could be this, it could be that. But when you see them in Europe, that's a little bit freakier. And then China Xi's greets Vietnamese ally with ceremony and call for defiance. This just reminded me of something, and it's a little off topic, but it's kind of the same. As far as we talked about how all of these leaders ended up meeting other leaders over the last 3 years. And even before Vlad went into UKR and did this invasion, there were a lot of really strange meetings. There were meetings with the Cuban president. And people didn't really think about how big of a deal that was. As of now, they don't know. They think there was a couple of spots. In fact, there were some articles that covered how we think that one of their satellite dishes on Cuba or this one lab or one of these places is actually Vlad spying on the U.S. But they did do some sort of agreement there. They did some sort of backdoor deal. I saw a lot of comments about the Cuba thing, like, oh, it doesn't matter, that matters as much as if they were, somewhere else. And I'm like, it's 90 miles away from the U.S. It's about 90 miles offshore from the U.S. So that's a really, really close thing. And then what is going on with all of the South American countries and all of the leaders? What's even crazier is today they're talking about Brazil and Bolsonaro and all the stuff that's going on. And if you follow what is happening, basically the same thing that went on with T-Man and President B just happened in Brazil with Bolsonaro. I mean, basically people aren't happy. In fact, in Brazil, truckers actually took their trucks and blocked highways. Does that sound familiar? Like, This is happening everywhere. Something is getting prepped up for, and everything is coming together. It says that Chinese President Xi Jinping told the visiting leader of Vietnam's ruling Communist Party on Monday that both countries and parties should never let anyone interfere with their progress. It says the bullish message against the outside interference came at a time when strained relations between Xi and the West, especially with the United States over Taiwan, the UKR conflict, trade, and other issues. Xi and Nguyen Phu Trong both unmasked, shook hands, and embraced before taking part of a televised welcome ceremony in Beijing's Great Hall of the People, an unusual display of close contact between Xi and another leader, as Xi persists with his strict CV lockdowns. It says Trong's was the first visit by a foreign leader since Xi secured a precedent-breaking third term as a general secretary at the Communist Party 20th Party Congress this month. It says the development of the cause of human progress is a long and torturous, and the development of socialist countries faces a very complicated international environment and serious risks and challenges, Xi said. It says Xi and Vietnam parties should persist in working for the happiness of the people and the progress of mankind, pushing forward socialist modernization with all their might, and never let anyone interfere with our progress or let any force shake the institutional foundation of our development. Basically saying we're not going to let the U.S. or anybody else get their hands in our business, and they're making these solid alliances. Dex, that's actually geographically, isn't that a strategic area as far as Nam?
It so most certainly is, and it's long been a communist stronghold, so to speak. But it's also one that we've seen a lot of progress with other nations. So as we see Xi continue to reestablish and or reaffirm those locations, as well as capture new ones through trade. And treaty and other things. That's sort of the path that he's on right now, which is to gain as much power and as much success across the entire globe, not just in his backyard.
Well, and we also know how that conflict went. Obviously, if anything happened, and I don't know if we would want to go in there and do that again. Let's see here. It says that UKR's air defense shoots down Islander cruise missile targeting Zaporizhia. Dex, this headline by itself, do you realize like there was something that was just said a couple days ago or a week ago? Do you remember the stories about specifically something rode on a missile? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I remember that. And I remember all the conversations we've been having about this location being such a hot spot. I just sort of chuckle at the fact that they could know it was targeted for that, but they were able to take it down. And that, this type of story is just one of many that we get out of that area, obviously coming from the UKR. But it does go hand in hand with things we've talked about in the past. We've talked about the writing on the missiles. We've talked about, the fact that Zaporizhia is a hot target and they want to turn it into, another Chernobyl. But apparently they knew this was targeted for it and they were able to take it down.
Now, this, if something does hit that, they've also basically put it in the back of everybody's heads. Now people are going to think, oh, they actually fired a missile at that, and they were trying to blow up a nuclear plant, right? This says that they knocked it out of the sky and they saved the day. So it's already in the back of our heads that they're targeting that area, and then you're going to think, oh, well, they tried to hit that place. So if anything does happen to Zaporizhia, which, by the way, if that ended up going, and going boom, then that would get us into a WW3. Why? Well, if that ends up, if they blame it on Vlad, and then the radiation fallout goes into the NATO countries, they could call up Article 5, and then they would bring everybody in. So there's many ways that Article 5 could be called up. That has been talked about as one of them. If Zaporizhia, the nuclear power plant, goes boom, and then nuclear fallout from that goes somewhere else. They've already set it up. They've already basically put out there that, hey, Vlad has targeted this, and we knocked it out of the sky. So I'm just wondering what's going to happen in this 2 weeks. We're about a week in from about a week ago. There was all of this talk about 2 weeks, and that wasn't by YouTubers setting dates. That was Vlad saying this mobilization will be over in 2 weeks. There was all of these rumors and chatter around about what was going to happen. Of course, both sides say that something really, really bad is planned, and both sides are blaming each other, saying that the other side is going to do it. So right now is extremely important. Even if after this week or after, if it does calm down, fine. But everybody should be paying attention to this right now and, paying attention to it with an open mind and ask questions, because something up is happening. And civilians will be the last ones to know. Which, again, they'll end up not letting anybody know we're in danger until last minute. I think you should always, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Which, by the way, the Benjamin Franklin quote: if you're failing to prepare, then you're preparing to fail. Rian Van Niekerk, thank you. I don't know what country Czar is from. I don't know what country that is from, but thank you so much. Says, hi, Foogle fam. First time I catch the live from windy Cape Town, South Africa. Wow, that is awesome. It's a trip. Much love and blessings. One of my best friends actually is from South Africa. Let's see here. I don't know what part though. I feel like Cape Town is familiar. Cheyenne C, love the early show. Been here for 5 years and always catch the replay. Great job, guys. God bless. Cheyenne C, thank you so much. Kenny Crowder says, hi, Adam, Dex, and Foogle fam. You're the best mods on YouTube. Hope all's well. Love your way. And then Carol White, thank you so much for the early support. Appreciate that. Marky Sparky, thank you as well. Bill Fortenberry, thank you for the super sticker. And then Meat Puppet 007, shout out to the mods. Did anyone else hear that the U.S. planes had turned off their transponders? Funny you say that. So I believe that that's what I was saying. So there are things going on at night as far as anybody that watches the radar. I would say keep an eye on what ends up being a blip and then going off and then popping up somewhere else. I would keep an eye on that. All right. And let's see here. Dex, I'll have you cover the mobilization, and then I will end up going into, I'll talk about the EMP shield.
Okay. Did you hate the kamikaze drone boats?
No, that's next. I have that right after.
Got it. So yeah, the mobilization, what they're talking about here is apparently they're making a statement saying they are not mobilizing anymore. They're not needing to conscript any others. They're saying there's an end to that, but they are doing the 300,000 people that they pulled up. So it's not like this is not like the end. They're not saying, hey, we're all done, but they just said, hey, we've done what we're going to do. Everyone can sort of relax, and we're gonna continue forward with the 300,000. Now, there's lots of stories coming out about how well or unwell really trained those people are and going in. So, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. It was a big deal when he, originally said up to 1 million people were going to be conscripted up, but apparently they said that they're done calling up the reservists. And so we'll see if if they'll take it much further than the 300,000 that they have.
Yeah, we don't know what this actually means. It says that Russia announced on Friday it finished calling up reserves to fight in UKR after drafting hundreds of thousands of people in a month, with more than a quarter of them already sent into battle. So it says the divisive draft, Russia first since World War II, sent tens of thousands of men fleeing the country and gave rise to the first sustained public protests against the conflict. President Vlad ordered the call up in September after suffering battlefield losses. And it says the dispatch of citizens called for mobilization was completed today. Citizen notification has been discontinued. The task set by you of mobilizing 300,000 people has been completed. No further measures are planned. So I have the opinion, and some of you do as well, that he did not call these conscripts because all of his guys were done. I mean, people actually have the impression that his whole military was wiped out and they're just grabbing new people off the street because their entire physical military was wiped out. They have their good guys. They have their specialists. They have, I believe they have most of their military intact. If you think that fighting UKR that just wiped out Vlad's whole army, I mean, it's bigger than it was in World War II. And, I mean, back then there was like, you know, I guess that was mostly civilian deaths, but, I mean, there was 85 million people that perished during that. 50 million about were civilians. But, I mean, there was a lot of soldiers involved that ended up perishing. I don't think they ran through their entire people. I don't think they ran through anybody. I think they conscripted early to throw in kind of anything they could to not touch their really good guys and trained guys because they're planning for something bigger. They're no limits partner with China. China is hoarding like we've never seen before. They're completing their space station. They're working on things that can keep them running through a disaster. They're hoarding all of the wheat. They're hoarding all of the corn. They're hoarding natural gas. They're not selling it to Europe anymore. They're doing all of these things that show you that they're ready to take Taiwan and they're ready to deal with all the sanctions. And then once they take Taiwan, that is one thing that we can't just sit idly by because 92%, something like that, 92% of the chips come from there, or at least for certain things, 92%. We would be screwed if Xi ends up controlling all of that, and we still don't have a semiconductor chip factory set up here. It's going to take years to do. So this is big. Something big is happening here. And then UKR unleashes mass Aussie drone boat attack on Vlad's Black Sea Fleet headquarters. It says that the largest city in Crimea and the home of Black Sea Fleet woke up the heavy explosions and anti-aircraft fire during an attack on Vlad. Officials say included aerial drones and especially unmanned surface vessels. So these were unmanned little boats. It says both of which were or kamikaze types, meaning that they explode when they arrive at their targets. The UKR armed forces have since released incredible footage purportedly aboard several unmanned surface vessels used in the attack. The video shows the purported attack run on a guided missile frigate and Vlad's forces engaging the USVs with machine gun fire. So these little things are rolling up and they're trying to fire at it. And I don't know if they're little, by the way. Dex, is there any pictures out of these things at all? Are these full-size boats that are... I would think they can fit a lot of explosives on a little one, and it would be better to be little because the cost would be lower. But I didn't see any pictures as far as I saw of how big these things were. I mean, it could be the size of a RC car with a camera on it. We wouldn't know from the camera view.
I got you one to look at. You can pull it up. It's in the screener. Yeah, these are small surface vehicles, but the interesting thing is that this is so effective. Like the other side wasn't prepared for this, and I also wonder like how effective would this be against our own Navy? I mean, I know we've seen recent, things like lasers and other things that can target small craft and deal with them quickly. I just wonder how these smaller type vessels can sneak in and do a lot of damage. And, when all you're left with was machine guns to fight back. That just seems like pretty lightweight return when you see these things coming, or if they even saw them coming.
Well, you still don't get you still don't have much of a scale of how big these are, but it looks like, well, it almost looks like they have solar panels on them too. It has the camera up there, and then this thing could be loaded up with whatever kind of explosives. I wonder who made these. Probably wasn't UKR. It's kind of oh, wait a second. Notice this. Look at this. So I don't know if that's part of the detonation process, but do you see these two balls? So I wonder if these are like Staples buttons, right? Hits its target and then that depresses and then it ends up going boom. I wonder if that is part of this actual thing. Does it have to hit its thing, or can it be, I'm guarantee it can be remotely detonated even if it doesn't hit something, but these look like bumpers of some sort. What a trip. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. The reason why we recommend this is because if an EMP or a CME does happen, there is a way you can actually protect yourself. The more people that end up having these on their house, their car, their devices, the more people that, in fact, if everyone had this, our country would do fine after an EMP or a CME. Unfortunately, our government is not doing this quick enough. They are working with EMP Shield as far as DHS and DOD have done contracts with EMP Shield, and the DEMSO team actually has EMP Shield working on it right now. The first things that they are protecting are government and military buildings. As far as the executive order that was signed in 2018, they went forward and they're hardening certain parts, but they are not hardening civilians, civilian grids yet, or at least if they are, it's only in a county or two. We've heard one county is fully protected out of the entire country. So if you do want to protect your car and get that last 10 miles home, if you work far from home, this is definitely important. As far as after all three phases of an EMP happen, and again, multiple of these, this will actually ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before an EMP or a CME is able to fry your car, your boats, your motorcycles, your home, pretty much anything you can think of. They do generators, and they even make a custom EMP shield for the Energy Flex 1500. So again, that's the only solar generator you can get an EMP shield for, by the way. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll save $50 off per device, and you'll help our independent channel. We are running on our own. These kind of things help support us be that way. So again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's a veteran-owned business, and it's 100% American-made, down to the screws. So, and then Dex, explosion at airfield.
So this is like a back-to-back ton of stories coming out trying to show, just how great UKR is. First, we took out the missile that was going for the nuke site. Second, we ran all these drones, and look at what we did to their navy. And third, now we've hit one of their military bases and took out attack helicopters. So the stories are sort of all the same, and they're all coming from the same source because they're all coming out of UKR, right? This is what they're pushing as their narrative. So that's in a sense what they're saying. This was in the, I want to say the Oblast region, and it was an airfield that was hit. And of course, just two, but I guess two is better than zero, attack style helicopters were taken out.
So UKR intelligence confirmed the destruction of the two Ka-52 attack helicopters at the airfield in Pskov Oblast on the night of October 31st. Of course, time is way ahead there. In fact, right now, it's probably, I think it's like 2 a.m. or something there. So this happened relatively recently. And then Moldova declares Vlad's embassy employee persona non grata. It says that Moldova declared a Russian embassy employee in the capital Chisinau persona non grata on Monday. Vlad's news agencies quoted Moscow as saying it would respond to the decision. It says Moldovan foreign ministry did not identify the employee in a statement issued after the Vlad ambassador was summoned and informed the employee must leave Moldova. Relations between Chisinau and Moscow have strained by the presence of Vlad's peacekeeping troops in Moldova's breakaway Transnistria region and have risen further during the war in neighboring UKR. Moldova, former Soviet republic, that is dependent on Vlad's energy supply, but it said it wants to join the European Union, said earlier on Monday that missile debris had landed in Moldovan village after a Vlad attack on UKR. The Moldovan Foreign Ministry said that Vlad's ambassador was told that missile attacks on a neighboring country continue to increase security risks, and the citizens of our country increasingly feel the devastating consequences of this conflict. It says it is emphasized that attacks on the UKR energy infrastructure also create increasing threats to the energy security of Moldova. They're basically saying you attacking them is now coming into our borders and it's affecting us. So basically, are they? This is a reaction, right?
I think this is the beginning, or one of the beginning steps that we're going to see of potential tension with Moldova, especially with those Vladian troops that are inside their country. They're right now they're throwing out a diplomat, and I think there's more to come. This is just the very first. This is the beginning of it.
So everyone's picking their sides. Everyone is getting lined up right now. And then Norway raises military alert in response to the Ukraine war. So over this last couple of weeks, we told you everything is going to be pumped up. And the information coming from all over the world is that not only are all of these drills, exercises, nuclear things going on, but more countries are getting involved. I mean, even we covered something briefly about even Finland is asking for things. Which again, there's even neutral countries that are now trying to get involved and get protection. Norway raises military alert, and it says that hiked preparedness seen lasting a year could be longer. It says Norway is now Europe's largest gas supplier, shares a border with Vlad, and it said that it will put its military on a raised level of alert on Tuesday, moving more personnel onto operational duties and enhancing the role of a rapid mobilization force in response to the conflict in UKR. So remember, these places we mentioned at the very beginning, saying that they were going to move people around. They are now moving mobilization forces to their borders. So Norway, you have Moldova making moves. You have all sorts of things happening right now. It says Norway will seek to bring its new fleet of U.S.-made P-8 Poseidon submarine hunting maritime patrol aircraft into regular operation with a faster pace than originally planned. It's becoming a theme. Faster than originally planned. And we're talking about getting them operational and online. Almost all these countries are doing things right now. The fact that Xi is about to finish his space station is just insane to me. Normally it takes years and years and years. They don't have any of the bureaucratic tape. They're getting things done right now. It says there are no concrete threats against Norway now, triggering the decision, Kristofferson told Reuters, but rather the sum of the uncertainties. So very, very crazy stuff going on. Dex, do you want to talk about the next two stories real quick? Again, crazy smiling.
So the sun apparently, or at least a specific observatory, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, captured a photo just recently of the sun, and it was last week, and it was smiling. It's almost like you've got two eyes, a nose, and a smile across the bottom, and you can see the picture here. If you haven't seen this. So kind of an eerie thought in the sense that, or maybe it's a good thought, I don't know, or maybe it's just coincidence, which a lot of people say there are no coincidences, but that's fine. Take it for how you want. This is what happened. This was the picture they put out. This is what they captured at their Solar Dynamics Observatory. It kind of, resembles, some people say it's looking like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, or the baby-faced Teletubbies, or a sun or a jack-o'-lantern, if you think of it that way. I'm sure you can all see the face in the sun.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a very happy sun, though. It's not scary at all. And then potentially hazardous asteroid hiding in the sun's glare, which is something I talked about. If we were to get a nasty planet killer, they say it would come from the sun's direction.
This is not something you need to run out and panic over at the moment, but this is exactly what we talked about. So they found a new asteroid that they couldn't see because it was hiding in the glare. It was hiding basically in the light of the sun. And they used a new technology, a dark energy camera in Chile is where they were with this. And they were able to detect this asteroid. And they're going to have to do a lot of tracking on it. And they're going to start tracking it a lot further now that they have the ability to start doing the measurements. But the reason they think it's important is it does look like it's heading for Earth in the future, not right now, not on a kamikaze course this moment, but one of those things they want to pay attention to see how close it actually does come. And I think it takes time for them to map those out. They start to have to get many different points of measurements over time before they can really have a good idea of its trajectory and long-term orbit. But that's a exact example of what we talked about, that there could literally be one headed directly for us that they don't see and they can't find, and because it's blocked by the sun, and then before it's we have very little time, it makes itself appear.
Well, and as far as all of the different actions that have happened worldwide, it seems like there's something different there. You guys know my opinion about if they have discovered something that they're not telling us about, later down the road hitting us. I've always kept that an open spot in the back of my brain as far as all of these weird operations, all of the weird missions, and dealing with asteroids. But let me know your opinions down below. Vicky K says, was on YouTube. Ugh. I'm assuming, it's a daytime show, so there's a lot of people that are not normally in chat. We have pretty simple rules here. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody here is, but one of the rules is we just don't put other people down. I guess, if everybody is used to other chats or somewhere else, then we can all have differing opinions, again, and that's something that people need to pay attention to. But one thing is for sure, we don't have to put each other down. We don't have to do things like that to have a good time. And I feel like if you do contribute and try to have a fun time here, then it will end up being a better place for you just to come and hang out. We talk about a lot of weird stuff. Obviously, today is Halloween. There's lots of crazy things that we could be chatting about. But this whole week, we have so much important stuff to go over. I hope that people understand that this is supposed to be kind of a relaxing place that you can talk about things that your family think you're crazy for, or, that your friends you can't talk about anywhere else. So make sure to do that. I hope that YouTube's not that bad. But again, we may not have the same crowd as we usually do. Try to encourage others to be, chill and hang out and have a good time. All right, and then today is a quicker show. I have a costume party for my kids tonight, so I'm going to be doing that. I want to thank everybody that came and supported. We made sure to get all of the most important stuff out. Tomorrow is going to be a really big show, so I hope everybody ends up making it tomorrow to this show, but it will be around 6:30 to 7 tomorrow. Dex, do you want to talk about the web-only stuff? And then I do want to say thank you to Luis Martinez. Broski drones parts are being traced coming from Texas. Article, Broski drones parts traced to coming from Texas. I will have to check that out. If you have sent me an article, please send it to my Twitter. And then Rhiannon Vikrux says, again, thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Foogle fam. First time catch the live show. Cheyenne C, thank you. Kenny Crowder, Carol White, Marky Sparky, and everybody else that has popped in, Bill Fortenberry, and the rest. Thank you. Vicky K and J9, looks like J9 Texas. Is that right? No, J9 Texas Sunshine. Thank you so much for your support over on DLive. And if you are on Rumble, I appreciate you watching as well. Lots of really great people over there. And thank you, everybody that did a super thanks on that last show. Dex.
Wow, lots going on. So if you haven't been paying attention to the hammer situation in San Fran, there's some updates. So a handful of updates around that and what happened to Paul, who they're blaming, what the stories are. Some people making statements they shouldn't. Even Elon was involved in making a post and then retracted it. Lots going on around Paul and that story. Of course, we're getting closer to the big day here, and so I can't wait for it to be over, to be honest. But we do have plenty of coverage there about what's happening, who's running against who they think's when and where, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can go find that. Definitely some updates going on with UKR and some of Vlad's troops being potentially having Afghan commandos that were trained by our special forces being recruited to go join Vlad. So like we trained them over there back in the day, and now they're special and well trained, and now they're joining Vlad and coming in. So no good deed goes unpunished, of course. Updates on some of the climate things like the drought that's happening and other actions that are going around. Big politics out of Brazil, so that's a huge deal for them. Big shift and change in power there, and people are out in the streets. We'll have to be watching that to see what may comes of it. Of course, Kanye's still in the news, so if you want to know what's happening there, you can find all of this and so much more over on marfooglenews.com. All you do is click on the thumbnail for the show. If you're on YouTube, you just open the description and click on show notes. It'll take you right there in the app. You can look at all of the articles we just covered. You can find the rest of these articles, including things like the Pentagon is attributing UFO sightings to spies and airborne trash. You can find out about the storm ravaging in the Philippines, and of course, all the updates on Zuckerberg and everything he's got going on that's imploding, as they say, with his company valuation, and even some speculating he might not be around much longer. So, in power of the company, I should say. So look, all of that right there at marfooglenews.com, a ton of additional content. So make sure you check it out. If you're not, you're missing out every day.
And by the way, just to highlight that, the Bolsonaro stuff, this is, I want to know, do they use the same system that we used here in the U.S.? Just curious. And then, they even say, is he following the T-Man playbook? Well, maybe he should be. Why is this happening all over the world where it's visibly, if these are people that, of course, people are, putting a thing in the box for, why are the majority almost everywhere going nuts saying, whoa, this isn't right? Just seems very odd. Go ahead, Dex.
Oh, no, that was done. That was it. That's a lot. And there's a lot there. So guys, go check it out. marfooglenews.com.
Oh, weird. That's weird. The light flickered there. Spooky.
That wasn't me.
All right.
It's Halloween.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you guys. And again, tomorrow's show is going to be packed. So please show up tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of great stuff. Thank your mods. And also, if you want to check out the mods channels and, of course, all of our friends over at, of course, all of our creators that we know, make sure to go down and check marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find Bones, CJ Blaze, Jammer1, Lisa Hall, PNW Affliction, Ripcurl Readiness, RGL Harris, Survival Game, Trinity Red Pill, Blue Hill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog. She does some really great edited videos. Survival Game does awesome shows, doing an actual game show. Alaska Prepper, all day, every day. RE55, great people. You got Donut Factory is getting closer and closer to 100,000. Make sure to go check him out. Global Witness, Jacob Israel. Jeff P., all sorts of great people down there. So make sure to go check it out. And then Off-Grid Desert Farming with Paul and Adrian. Make sure to go pray for Paul. Paul's got some health issues right now. Make sure to go throw him a prayer and keep him in your thoughts. Again, great people. All right, love you guys. And again, it's a shorter show. I hope you guys are all safe. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It's now time for a short outro. It's not a short outro. It's not a short shout out. It's a short outro. A short outro. How would you combine short outro? A short outro.
It's Halloween. It's 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 Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween.
Remember, the show continues over on Marfoogle Jams.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween. It's Halloween and the Bobby Sue Fry and Jamie Garcia. Charlotte so cold and everyone gonna see ya. Go Fire Store and Michael Jardine. LWR Occam's razor and McLean. I said Slurps, oh, Belinda Ghost, everyone gonna know. I say on the back with the Lucas, I hoard all of my candy. I got that Miss Dragon and Jeff and Laurie, it's Halloween, it's Halloween, it's Halloween, it's Halloween, it's Halloween, it's Halloween.
That's actually really good to know, Vicky K. I saw a lot of new names, so I didn't know if everybody was having a rough time. Most from what I've seen is everybody's been really positive and happy, so I'm glad to hear that. That makes me super feel good. Thank you everybody for being patient with, just in general with our channel. We are independent. It's just me and Dex and volunteer mods. Make sure to go check them out and thank them by subscribing.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween.
The more support you get, the more likely it is we can actually bring on more people. It would be lovely to have a system like Tim Pool or, you know, the Daily whatever.
Halloween. It's Halloween.
In fact, we could name our news the Daily whatever. All right, let's do a new one. This one's got to be quick here. All right, give me a word in chat. Just any word. Just think wild, think jungle, think any word that comes to your brain randomly. Trees, family, savage. I like savage.